So let's get to the meat and bones of this team. The hard men in defence. What's your memories of these guys?
Oh, it's Harold. There's no question that was Harold behind me. And he was a tough taskmaster too. If I wasn't in front of him pulling my weight and the opposing wing half was coming through too often, he would let me know about it. He'd say, "Now Ian, you got to get this fella stopped here. That's too much work for me. I can't cover 3 men at the one time." So he was a great player to play behind me, and I maintain to this day that because Harold played behind me, I lasted longer there at Ibrox than I would have. He was a tough tackler, great in the air, but don't get me wrong, he was good at coming forward too. If we did the 1-2 between us, I allowed, "On you go Harold, you go forward." Very good at that, and he was a good passer of the ball too. So he was an outstanding player. Outstanding.
And Bobby Shearer?
Oh, hard as nails. Oh, I had two tough men behind me. That made up a lot for me because I couldn't tackle anything. So it made an awful difference to me, these fellas playing behind me. Added to my length of time there, and they were great chaps to play with. Behind.
Okay, yeah.
And Calder was left back.
Right.
But he was more. He wasn't a tackler.
Yeah.
He liked the players to take him on in the run, and he could come in his wee sliding tackles from the side. So he wasn't really what you would say like Baxter and Big Harold. He allowed the.
Could I suggest that Eric Calder was possibly more akin to today's game when you see the attacking fullback?
Correct, he was that bit, yes.
And years ahead of his time?
He was ahead of his time, you're absolutely right. But he didn't like a head-on 50-50 ball or that. He allowed the wingers to come up and he would run them because nobody could beat him in speed. But he also passed a nice ball when he came forward.
I mean, I've heard some of the older generation describe Eric Calder as one of the truly world-class players in the positions that we had at Rangers.
Absolutely right, absolutely, outstanding.
M&B.
Well, they were great, absolutely great. What a combination they were, and what a number of goals they scored. And Ralphie was like a hare. He could dart about all over the place. He had a great engine. He could last for 120 minutes instead of 90 minutes. Wonderful player, good control, scored a lot of goals. Jimmy Miller, he was a great centre. He could hold up the ball. He's strong and tough. No centre half could knock him down. He was so strong in that they held the ball up for inside forwards coming up, especially Ralphie, who come up on his right hand side and they just slipped it to him, and they were good at 1-2s and they scored a tremendous number of goals. Two great players.
So that's the famous team of '63, and I just wonder, when anywhere you go, do you still get that team read out to you? Richie, Shearer, Calder?
Often. It's quite nice to hear that. So, and it's quite nice to have been involved in such a team. And as I say, with me, I was really concerned about going there, whether I would fit into the team or not. So I'm quite glad I went, and I'm quite glad I had the experience of playing with these great players.
So they called you the wee Prime Minister. When did that first originate from?
Well, that was when Harold McMillan was the Prime Minister for Great Britain there, and the British Isles. And he actually, when one of my caps he was presented to us at Hampden, one of the caps.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it was because of that or whether because I, like Baxter, was playing in the middle of the park a wee bit and distributing the things, that whether it was because of that they call him the Prime Minister, I just don't know. But it was I've always been referred to as that, and it was quite an honour to be called that.
So one of the myths of that great team was many Rangers supporters believed that Rangers played a 2-3-5 formation. What's your take on that?
Well, that is completely wrong, because unknown to us, on the team players, Baxter and I really played in the middle of the park. I wasn't what you would call a fast player like we Ralphie. I couldn't buzz up and down the right hand side like Ralph did the left hand side. So really, unknown to ourselves, that's how we played it. We more or less played a 4-2-4, with Harold dropping back a wee bit, me being opposite Baxter in the middle of the park, and Baxter and I distributed the balls forward. So in retrospect, we did it ourselves, and it worked out well, so we just kept doing it. So really we, at that time, played more or less a 4-2-4.
And if you didn't do it right, Big Harold would hang you on the peg like Jim Baxter?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, without a doubt. Fortunately, I was never hung up on the peg. I was near it, but I've never done it.
So as a young lad for Airdrie and you come to Rangers and you're playing in front of 120,000 supporters, how does it feel, that kind of atmosphere, and what like was it?
It was really tremendous. As soon as you come out the tunnel, you could hear the crowd, and that was a tremendous benefit to the Rangers players, to hear that number, you know, shouting for you, and it gave you confidence. It gave you the ability to really pull that wee bit extra out, and it was a wonderful feeling to play in front of that. I mean, the only trouble was that some of the shouts you couldn't be heard because of the crowd, which was a wee bit off-putting at times, but it was great to get that support behind you. Outstanding.
So Ian, tell us about one of the most memorable games in that season. Would have been the 1963 Scottish Cup finals. You played in the second leg.
That's
second
right.
Game.
I didn't play in the first game. Big George McLean played inside right that day, and we got a draw. And what I'm led to believe was that during I think it was a Monday, I think the game was on Wednesday, during the Monday training, Scott Simon came to Willie Henderson and asked Willie who you want to be playing inside right to you on the replay. And Willie said, well, I would like Ian McMillan to be inside. So, due thanks to Willie, I got playing in that game where I wasn't playing in the first game. So it was all thanks to Willie.
One of the big talking points of that era was the 8 or 9 week big freeze, as they called it, when Scottish football was wiped out by harsh weather conditions. Have you any memories of that, Ian?
Yes, I have. It's the longest spell I've had without playing football, and it was really during the winter time, and the weather was up, the snow and ice was really dreadful, and it was terrible just to train without having games, and I've never experienced anything like that, and possibly will not again, because the weather conditions was absolutely abysmal.
One of the things that a lot of people wouldn't understand at the time, and a lot of people probably wouldn't believe, when you played with Rangers you actually had a job as well, Ian.
Yes, I at Airdrie I was we were all part-time at Airdrie, of course, and we trained 3 nights a week, and we had our game on Saturday. And when Rangers came calling and I went in there to meet Mr. Simon, I explained to him that I was normally a part-time player. What were Rangers' feelings about that? He said, well, that's okay, if you want to stay part-time, we'll allow that. We'd never allow that nowadays, of course, but I was quite happy to do that because I had a reasonable job, and I was 27 at that time, so I was quite happy. The strange thing was, I didn't see the players until a Saturday. I trained at Ibrox 2 nights a week with the young boys, and then I went and met the players on a Saturday. And at Airdrie I trained 3 nights, Ibrox I trained 2 nights, and was playing in Europe. Unbelievable.
So one of the questions that the fans are always going to ask you, and I've always asked this with all the people I interview, you play for the Rangers FC and you play against Celtic, and that team of your generation were always on top. I think Jim Baxter once said only lost 1 game.
I think that's about right, yes.
Tell us about playing against the Celtic, the atmosphere, the passion, and how it felt.
Mm-hmm. Well, these games, as you know, are always everybody, both sides want to win, and really you've got to go out there as a team and play as a team and work hard for each other, and that's what we did on these occasions against Celtic, because Celtic at that time were a good side as well. A lot of good players played for them, and to come out on top in all these number of games that we played and only lose once was quite an achievement. But as I say, we had a really good team at that time, and when we played the Celtic, generally speaking, everything clicked for us. A lot depends on the run of the ball and things like that, and games like that. And fortunately, I think we get the wee rub of the ball, and it was always good to be winning, especially against your arch enemies, the Celtic. So it was a good time to be playing, actually. Yeah.
And is there any other memories you've got of that period, playing with Rangers against any other clubs or big games?
No, not really. Every against the bigger clubs. I enjoyed playing in Europe. That was one of the big things I enjoyed playing, because that was a big pull to play against the top players in Europe at that time, and also you were visiting different countries, which to a local boy like me was great to go and visit other countries and play against top quality teams and sense the atmosphere and watch the ability of foreign players at that time. Although they were good, we more or less held our own and did quite well against them in the whole.
And that was European football in its infancy. When you speak about that, and I would imagine you watched the recent European Cup final. It was a fantastic match.
Yes.
With Manchester United and Barcelona.
Yes.
Do you feel the modern game, the tactics have obviously moved on? What's your feelings on how the tactics have moved compared to when it originally started off?
Right. I feel that you were maybe going to ask me a question about that early on, about how would you think I would maybe do against teams like today. Well, personally speaking, I don't think I would possibly do so well nowadays, because they flood the centre of the park now.
Yeah.
In our day, there was, if you play a 4-2-4, there's two only in the middle of the park. You're an inside forward, therefore you're covered by a wing half. So all you have to do is take on your wing half, and you can go forward then without anybody else coming near you. Whereas today, if you beat one man, boom, you're the next man, because it's so busy in the middle of the park. You know, it's flooded. So I wouldn't have the room that I got playing the time I did.
Yeah, but I'll speak on behalf of my dad. If he was alive, I think his answer to that would be Ian McMillan was a football brain on the park, and I think you maybe would have adapted to the...
I would maybe have adapted, but I wouldn't have been the same. All I'm trying to say is that the modern day game is being stifled.
Yeah, I understand
it's flooding. But you talked about the final there with Manchester United. What I admired about the Barcelona team, not only their control, not only their accurate passing, not only their movement off the ball, but mainly the amount of running they do. Even although their players, in our day Baxter wasn't allowed, he was such a good player, they didn't have to do much running. You take the Messis and the other wee inside men of Barcelona, as soon as Man U got the ball, they were on them.
Yeah.
Never gave them a minute on the ball.
A pack of wolves.
Man U were only in the game for 10 minutes. And then they were even these young fellas, good players, footballers, they were in at them in their faces, not giving them time on the ball. Man U didn't have time to pass the ball. They were on quick. And that's what I would have liked. I would like to go and watch Barcelona training for about a month, just to see their tactics, because their fitness level at that level was tremendous. And I think that was a tremendous help to them. That as well as all the aspects I've mentioned earlier on, they had this running power to go 90 minutes.
And it was a tremendous advert for the game of football, I thought.
Oh, tremendous, absolutely.